Hello, this is Fernando Labacita from Content Propulsion. This is the second edition of our video blog, the holiday festive edition. As you can see, we've put up our stockings in the family, including stockings for the cats. So what I wanted to get into today was the 7 questions that you have to ask yourself when planning your content marketing for 2015. Okay. Many of you have been trying to do some content marketing. Maybe many of you have actually already been very successful with content marketing. And some of you have been successful in the past, but you've gotten really busy and your content marketing has kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit, which is a good problem. I mean, you're busy, you have a lot of clients coming in. There's really no time to do any content marketing. It is time to do some content marketing. 2015 is really the time to get serious about it. From what I've observed, content marketing has gone from the very beginning stages in the 2006, 2007, 2008 period, then crossing the chasm, thinking about Jeffrey Moore's classic Crossing the Chasm and Into the Tornado books. It has already crossed the chasm, and really the last 2 or 3 years it has been in this tornado. So companies who have been really getting serious about content marketing, tons and tons of companies have been really getting on this content marketing land grab, writing articles and ebooks and creating infographics, etc., to really try and dominate their space. Really, 2015 is the beginnings of, if not already, maybe a quarter of the way into the early majority of content marketing. So now is really the time to get serious. In a recent article by Michael Brenner, which I am posting at the bottom of this blog post, in which I'm embedding this video, Michael Brenner talks about the importance of content marketing as a strategic solution to a strategic problem. And so what Michael Brenner says is that, I'll read it, content marketing is no longer a question. It is an imperative for every single brand. And as we look to the future, content marketing will become one of the key marketing disciplines along with data and technology. So content marketing is, you got to take this seriously, folks. But the good news is that I have 7 steps for you to really consider in terms of what questions to ask yourself for planning for the 2015 marketing year. Thinking about the Michael Brenner's article, how will you make content marketing a strategic part of your marketing? How will you incorporate this into the very fabric of your company? Number one, what is the story that you're going to tell out to your audience? And there are several audiences. You have your target customers, you have influencers who can recommend you, and you have analysts, especially if you're a growing software company or a services company who, for you, information or relationships with Gartner and Forrester and Aberdeen and the likes are very important. What is the story you're telling folks, right? So, as you've probably heard ad nauseum, story is so important. We live on stories. Our brains are wired to pay attention to stories. How will you use content to generate leads? How will you use content to qualify those leads, to move them down the sales funnel? How will you use content to help your sales force close those leads? And then finally, how will you use content to really delight your customers, turn them into lifelong customers? Finally, how will you infuse content into your sales efforts? I alluded to that a little bit ago, but how will your salespeople, your enterprise salespeople, if you're a B2B enterprise firm, how will you use content within that sales process? This is now thinking a little bit differently from the traditional hard driving, outbound, territory-based sales effort in which your account executives have a Rolodex of contacts, and they're used to doing things the way they always have been. Okay. So the number 2 question to ask yourself is, why are you doing content marketing? What are your goals, right? So think strategically about this. Are you wanting to generate more traffic to your website, right? Is that a goal? Do you have very little traffic and thus essentially your lead generation is not online? Now, if you are getting traffic, what are you doing with regards to lead generation? Are your goals to generate more leads, to increase conversions? Maybe you already have a lot of content out there that's buried deep inside your website, but that is really good content. You can actually strategically use that, bring that up to the surface, promote it on your website, have calls to action on those content pieces to more premium pieces of content, such as recorded webinars, ebooks, white papers, etc. And then, how can you help? What about in terms of lead qualification and closing of sales? Right? Is that an issue that you have that you think the content can help you with? What are the goals you have for your content marketing? Okay, number 3. What is the lifetime value of your customers? Really think about if you sell a one-time service or a product, how often do your customers come back and buy from you on average? If you a services company, how long do your engagements last? And how often do they hire you for repeat engagements, right? Really think about the lifetime value of your customer, because that can change your thinking regarding how you're going to sell your customers upfront using content, right? In my previous video, I talked about Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, and he talks about, I think it's 6 psychological triggers, psychological rules, if you will, that can help you with influencing people. One of those, or 2 of those, are actually commitment and consistency. Commitment is, if you've already taken one action, now you're kind of committed to that path, right? And so if somebody tries to contradict you, somebody tries to persuade you to another way of thinking, it's really going to be difficult to persuade you to think otherwise, because you've already made that initial commitment. That's who you are now. And consistency. Consistency is that psychological trigger of really trying to be consistent with previous actions. So how could that help you in terms of thinking about your lifetime value of your customers and in your content marketing? Well, think about maybe what are those sort of lower level commitments that you can have your potential customers do on your website. Can you get them to commit to giving you their email address? That's a relatively small commitment if you provide them with a high value piece of premium content like an ebook or a white paper. Then do you have something that's like maybe an assessment that you can sell your customers for $5,000 to $10,000? Now that's if you're selling a 6-figure, even 7-figure consulting projects. $5,000 or $10,000 is a drop in a bucket, and for them to be able to get a roadmap after you have sent people in to do an evaluation for 5 days maybe at your client's facility, for them to be able to get a detailed roadmap of exactly where they need to go from A to B to Z to transform their company, $10,000 is a drop in the bucket. And so what that'll do is that'll get them to make a commitment to your company. And in order to stay consistent with, to have that consistency, they're going to want to continue to give you business, right? So that's the importance of having a lifetime value calculated about your customer, because selling those initial small engagements will help you to then do the follow-on sales and achieve that lifetime value. Okay. All right. The number 4 question. This is really important. This is really key. I've seen too many clients attempt content marketing efforts with no results, not moving the needle, because they neglected this very important part. And this is what you really need to get clear on in 2014. And that is your personas. This is key. I've seen too many case studies, too many examples of companies who have achieved success after really nailing down their target personas, their buyer personas, if you will, and being able to target their content to their personas. And let me give you a great resource. 2 brothers, Brian and Jeffrey Eisenberg. These guys are conversion gurus known all over the world. They just published a book called the Buyer Legends. And buyer legends are actually kind of like the hyper persona, if you will. It's really looking at your buyer persona and then coming up with the realistic story that of what they're going through at that moment when they decide to consider your services, and what are the barriers that they might come across in interacting with you, what are the objections that might come up with when they come to your website, and see red flags. It'll say, oh, you know what, I may not want to do business with these guys. Let me go to a competitor, etc. Go out to Amazon, buy Buyer Legends, and really infuse this into your marketing. All right, question number 5 is, how are you going to promote your content? Again, this is another very key feature for 2015. Earlier this year, or what was it, late 2013, I can't remember exactly, marketer Mark Schaefer at businessesgrow.com published a groundbreaking blog post called Content Shock. And in Content Shock, he really kind of stated the obvious, what everyone had already been thinking and had already been suspecting, and the results they've been seeing, the little by little reduced results they've been seeing from their old school blogging. You know, let's blog. The more you blog, the more successful you'll get, etc. And that is what's called content shock. The overwhelming availability of content. Now everybody's a publisher, everybody's publishing, and now your content's getting drowned out by everybody else's content. So that's the reality we live in. And is that a good reality? Well, it's a reality. But the good thing is that quality content rises to the top. Cream always rises. And content promotion. If you know how to promote your content, then you're gold. And in fact, there's a really great resource out there, digitalrelevance.com, published a really great ebook called The Content Promotion Manifesto. And I think a real great real live example about that is marketer Amanda McGuckin-Hager, who was over at InfoChimps for a while. And essentially InfoChimps sells really high-end big data services, infrastructure to companies that are dealing with big data. And so, you know, they're really trying to go after the Fortune 1000, the C-suite decision makers who are kind of difficult to reach. And so one of the key aspects to their inbound marketing, their content marketing strategy over there in InfoChimps, McGuckin-Hager hired a PR firm to promote a special report that they did with an industry association, essentially a database administrator industry association. They undertook a study, a survey of database administrators, and that in itself was key, because if you get key influencers such as this industry organization enrolled in your content marketing efforts, they're going to be a huge advocate for promoting your content, right? So what she also did was she hired a PR firm and essentially gained a lot of earned media for their content, and they were able to increase their in-house database by 94%. So in the resources, I'm actually going to put an article there, and as well as a Prezi about how McGuckin-Hager did that. Okay, question number 6. If you're going to make content marketing a strategic part of your company's strategy in 2015, the 6th question to ask yourself is, how are you going to measure this? What metrics are you going to put in place? What are the key KPIs that you're going to follow, and how are you going to measure that, right? So the KPIs I kind of alluded to earlier. Are you going to look at visits? Are you going to look at conversions and lead generation? Are you going to look at lead maturation or qualification? Are you going to look at sales, right? Or lifetime value in terms of customer loyalty, right? And then how are you going to measure that? Are you going to stick with the free tools such as Google Analytics, or are you going to go with premium tools like HubSpot or other similar tools, really? So that's a question that you're going to have to answer, because that's going to be a key component to helping you to make content marketing a strategic part of your business. So finally, who's going to be responsible for content marketing? It seems like as though everyone and no one is responsible. And this is true, especially if you're going to hire a content marketing agency to do this for you, right? So I think it's a mistake to think that you're going to be able to hire an agency and that nobody from your company is going to be involved. You can go back to doing business as usual, selling and implementing your services, or creating products, doing sales and engineering, etc. You're going to have to find somebody who is going to manage this for you and be the interface with your agency. And if not, you're going to have to be that person, wear a second or a third hat, if you will. So that's it for the 7 questions that you really need to really look at seriously. This is what I think you would need to do. Really look forward to your comments in the comment section below as to, what do you think are the the areas that you want to look at in terms of your strategic planning for content marketing in 2015. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.